The echo of leather shoes on marble floors carried through the Castellan villa like a heartbeat. David Castellan stood at the edge of his study window, staring over the Tiber River as dusk bathed Rome in golden light. He sipped espresso from a delicate cup, his other hand in his pocket. The news still rang in his ears. The car was rigged, sir. If you had entered 3 minutes earlier, he didn't need the details. The explosion was meant for him, and whoever planted it wasn't done yet. Behind him, the heavy oak doors creaked open. "She's here," said Matteo, his discreet head of operations. David turned, lowering the cup. "Let her in." She walked in with the kind of focus that swallowed a room whole. Tall, composed, dressed in sleek gray, tactical wear, not bulky, not showy, but efficient. Her hair was pinned back, eyes alert and calculating. No jewelry. "Wasted movement?" "Lena Voss," she said, extending a hand with precision. "David Castellan," he replied. He didn't smile. Neither did she. Their hands met briefly, hers calloused, steady, his warm but slightly trembling. "I don't need someone flashy," he said. "I need someone invisible. Quiet. Unshakable." Lena gave a slight nod. "Then you need someone who listens before they shoot." Matteo raised an eyebrow behind her, but David didn't flinch. Studied her. Not just her resumed former intelligence. Contractor, fluent in 6 languages, survived 2 ambushes in Syria, but the way she held herself. "Have you been to Rome before?" he asked casually once. "A long time ago, Vatican visit." She didn't elaborate. He motioned to the side room. "You'll be staying here. Matteo will show you the surveillance layouts, our interns, exits, our internal panic protocols. Will be moving to the Dolomites in 2 days. Cybersecurity summit." She nodded once. Understood. As she followed Matteo, David watched her walk away. There was something beneath the surface. Calm, yes, but also haunted. Like she'd already lost something. Someone. Later that night, Lena sat cross-legged on the edge of the guest room. Bed, her black duffel bag at her side. She unzipped it quietly. Inside were 3 items she never left behind. A firearm, photograph of her younger brother, and a worn leather-bound journal. She flipped open the journal and read the verse etched. On the inside cover, "Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, ... She closed her eyes. "Lord," she whispered, "I'm not here just to guard a man. I'm here because you led me. If this is a calling, make it clear. If this is a test, make me strong." The silence in the room thickened, up but in her chest. A gentle peace bloomed. The next morning began to quietly. David was pacing the garden when Lena stepped outside. She noted his tailored suit, but also the faint tremor in his right hand. Stress or guilt. "You don't seem like a man used to." "Hiding," she said. "I'm not. But apparently someone thinks I should be dead." She studied him a moment. "Any guesses who?" David hesitated. "Business competitors, most likely. My biotech patents are worth billions. But I have made enemies in higher places too." Folded her arms. "That narrows it down." A faint smile tugged at his lips. "I was told you pray before every mission." "Who told you that?" "My mother used to say, if you want to know a person, ask their enemies first. They speak more honestly than friends." Lena's face didn't change, but her hands flexed just slightly at her sides. "I believe in listening to the still small voice," she said softly. "Even when it's inconvenient." David met her eyes, blue-green and unreadable. "Then maybe you're exactly what I need," he said. That night, Lena ran a systems sweep through the estate's interior grid. Nothing flagged. But her nerves prickled. She stepped out onto the west balcony and watched the streets below.
Ow!
Rome was alive as ever tourists' lights. The hum of music floating from cafes. But then she saw it. A glint of metal. A shimmer across the lens of a parked motorbike's mirror. She turned sharply. Sniper. Her voice clipped through the cums. David, seated in the dining hall, froze as Matteo moved instantly to his side. Lena was already sprinting through. The hallway. Outside. 2 shots cracked through the air, one embedding into the stone arch above the terrace. The other buried in the pillar. Lena ducked behind. Within seconds, the shooter was gone, motorbike squealing into the Roman night. David stood shaken, staring at the cracked marble where a bullet had split a potted tree beside him. Lena walked in calmly, adjusting her sleeve. "You're all right?" she asked. He nodded once. She reached into her pocket, pulled out a silver casing recovered from the stone. "No fingerprints," she muttered. But this wasn't just intimidation. It was a message. David looked at her. "A message." She didn't answer right away. Instead, she said, "We leave for the summit at dawn." David studied her in the soft hallway light. This woman, who moved like a soldier, prayed like a prophet, and walked like someone chasing a voice no one else could hear. And for the first time, he wasn't thinking about his empire, or the threat, or the cameras. He was thinking about her. Snow crunched beneath Lena's boots as she stepped out of the armored vehicle, the cold air biting against her cheeks. The Dolomite Mountains loomed in every direction, white and sharp against the sky like jagged teeth. The summit resort was isolated, layered with glass and steel, perched like a crown atop the ridge. David followed behind, her wrapped in a black coat, his expression unreadable. For the last 2 days he had spoken little. Not about the sniper, not about the near miss. The way he checked over his shoulder a little more often. The way his jaw clenched when security doors locked behind them. A man who had never feared death, walked like it had become a shadow. The main hall buzzed with delegates and CEOs from around the globe, voices thick with different accents. Security was tight, scanners everywhere, guards in black suits patrolling with silent efficiency. Still, Lena's instincts were restless, her spirit heavy. She had not dreamed since Rome. That silence unnerved her more than bullets. Inside the control room, Matteo handed her a thin tablet. "Hotel schematics, guard rotations, guest profiles. You think it was the same shooter?" she asked without looking up. Matteo shrugged softly. "They vanished clean. No trace. Same as Geneva last year." She nodded, then moved to the balcony, overlooking the central fire lounge. Below, David stood with a cluster of tech executives, his laugh soft, his posture loose, but Lena saw through it. Saw the weight behind his eyes. She stepped back into the shadows. Later that evening, a welcome bonfire crackled at the center of the ice terrace. Dozens of guests gathered near it, wrapped in coats, sipping dark wine against the chill. David sat alone near the flames, occasionally nodding to passing faces. Lena remained on the perimeter, her breath slow and visible in the cold. She wore her earpiece, still one hand resting near her coat pocket. Just beneath was the cold steel of her firearm. Something was wrong. Not a sound, not a person, but a pull in her chest. Then it came. Not a memory, not a thought, but a vision. The fire danced, and in its reflection, she saw him. A man, tall, masked, eyes empty. He moved through the crowd unnoticed, past waiters, past guards, and in his hand was a knife. Lena blinked hard. Gone. The fire returned to normal. Laughter resumed, but her heart thundered. She moved, circling the crowd quickly. She searched for anomalies. Her eyes caught a man standing too still near the desert table, wearing an alpine jacket too thick for indoors. She approached from behind, her footsteps silent. Then he turned. Same mask from her vision, silver-lined. Blank. Lena didn't speak. Her hand moved fast. She struck his wrist. The knife clattered to the ground. Gasps erupted. Security swarmed. The man was down in seconds, restrained before anyone could react. David stood, motionless, eyes locked on the blade that had nearly found him. Later in the control suite, Lena pressed her palms against the sink, breathing slow and heavy. Another close call, another message. She met her reflection. Her own eyes stared back, filled with the weight of too many close calls. David entered the room quietly, his voice softer than usual. "You saw him again before it happened, didn't you?" She nodded. "You dreamt it, no?" "This time I saw it awake." He stepped closer, hesitating. "How do you do that?" She exhaled. "I don't. It's not me." "Then what is it?" She hesitated. God. David looked at her, the disbelief in his eyes, gentle, not mocking. "You think God tells you these things?" "I know. He does, she replied, and you trusted every time he sat down near the wall, silent for a long moment. Do you ever ask why, this life? She didn't answer right away. Used to, but when my brother died on a mission. I should have been on. I stopped asking why. I started asking what now, though. Silence between them was heavy, not uncomfortable, just full of something unspoken. David stood. Eventually, you saved my life twice, but I still don't know who you really will, she said one day that night. She lit a small candle in her room, knelt by the window, and opened her journal. Verse, she landed on read. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid, for the Lord your God goes with you. She closed her eyes and whispered, I know I am not alone. Speak again. Lordy will listen. But no dream came that night, only the sound of wind whistling through the snowy peaks and the silent unshaken knowledge the storm was not over. It was only changing shape. The yacht was a floating palace, white and shimmering under the Italian sun, its decks lined with polished wood, silk canopies, and waiters serving golden glasses of sparkling wine. David stepped aboard, first sunglasses in place, the sea breeze brushing his dark hair back. He looked relaxed, but Lena saw it. His hand grazed the inside of his blazer every so often, checking the hidden pistol. Matteo had insisted he carry. She followed behind, dressed in black again, fitted and functional, every step measured. Her eyes scanned everything, the crew, the cameras, the exits. Something inside her shifted the moment they left the shore. It wasn't just the yacht party. It was the silence in her chest. No warnings, no visions, no words. Sometimes silence was louder than thunder. Guests mingled under sunshades, influencers, politicians, heirs of old families, everyone eager to speak with David. But he kept his distance, his gaze returning to Lena. More than once, she moved like a shadow, present but unseen, until she saw him, a man near the bar, standing too straight to still. Dressed like everyone else, but with one detail off: a watch on the wrong wrist. Left-handed, but holding his drink in his left hand too? Contradiction. She stepped closer, pretending to adjust a cufflink in her coat. Her earpiece crackled. Matteo's voice, low. We lost the security feed for deck to just cut off completely. Linus. Heartbeat jumped. Where's David? She asked. Top deck, port side. She turned sharply, walking fast, heels clicking across the hardwood floor, wind catching the edge of her coat. Then it happened. Scream, a gunshot. Time slowed. She saw David standing near the rail, confusion flashing in his eyes as the man near the bar pulled something from his coat. Lena didn't think. She ran full speed and threw herself into the path of the bullet. Pain exploded through her side and her knees buckled. David caught her as she fell, both of them crashing to the deck behind an overturned table. Guards swarmed the shooter, instantly subdued Matteo, yelling orders through the earpiece. Lena's vision blurred, sunlight flickering like fire through the haze. David's hands pressed hard over the wound, blood soaking through. Stay with me, he whispered over and over her. Lips moved, barely audible. This is why I came. David leaned closer. What she met. His eyes. You were marked for death from the start, but God sent me to stand between you and the grave. Tears spilled from his eyes. Why would you do this? Because I was sent, she whispered again. Then darkness folded over her. Lena awoke in a white room. Soft beeping near her ears, the scent of antiseptic and flowers in the air. She blinked slowly, pain sharp in her side, but fading. David sat beside the bed, eyes bloodshot, beard unshaved, and hands resting near hers. He stood quickly as her eyes met his. Here. Awake, she nodded on Sabrilio. Been out for 2 days, doctors say. The bullet missed your lung by an inch. She gave a faint smile. Close one. Hey. Knelt beside her bed, voice shaking. You should have let them take me. That was never an option. Lena closed her eyes briefly, then opened them again. Where is he? The man who fired. Gone. Took him, but he wasn't working alone, David said quietly. Found something after you were shot. In one of the gift bags was a device encrypted, linked to a private signal. Coming from my own boardroom. Lena's face tensed in. Inside job. David nodded slowly. It's deeper than I thought. Lena shifted, trying to sit up, grimacing as pain flared again. Moved quickly, supporting her back gently. You saved me twice. No one's ever done that. Not like this. She looked at him. You were worth saving, not because of your company. Your name but because you haven't seen yet who you really are, David. Stared at her for a long time, then leaned closer. Maybe I do now. He paused. I prayed the night. You were shot first time in years. She didn't speak, but her eyes filled. I asked God to give you back, he continued. He did lean his hand, found his maybe. Now we both start over outside the hospital room. Sunlight spilled across the floor, soft and warm. A new day, a second chance, and, for the first time in years, Lena felt something in her chest. Not warning, not fire, but peace. And in that stillness, she heard the voice again. Not in thunder, not in dreams, just a whisper. You have finished the mission now. Walk in. The light